Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and in today's episode, I'm going to get into an old topic, basically. I'm going to talk about fan clubs and the beginning of how fan clubs, started and what they consisted of. And I got some old pictures of how our fan club was started, and basically we'll go over them together, all right? So, just going through all the various different chapters in the history of fan anime, and I'm going backwards and going to, filling in some of those chapters I haven't really touched up on for a while, and also gone through and looked at basically topics that need to be filled out a little bit more. Like maybe I'm concentrating a little bit too much on certain modern topics and that kind of stuff, and I should really go back and fill in some of those other topics that I haven't talked too much about, and I should really, make it more complete and basically fill out. Again, before we get go down below, click like and click subscribe. All right, there's a huge database of episodes, which I've all sorted down in topics, and I'm going through that right now, and updating it, and also looking through and just seeing where I've maybe left some gaps in. So again, this huge database is available. The links is below, and you can see what other episodes that I've talked about and then gone over to different topics and that kind of stuff. It's a great resource, and it's better than the search engine that YouTube supplies. So definitely you want to use that. I also want to thank my Patreon and subscribers and for the support that they've given me. Again, if you're interested in just helping out the channel, just clicking like and putting some comments down, definitely does help out. But if you want to support me financially, by all means, I do have a Patreon and a PayPal available. And we just had our anime giveaway number 4 just recently. And again, I always like to give back to the community. And if you're on the subscriber list, you get bonus episodes available to you. Again, I'm creating new episodes for the new subscribers and that kind of stuff as well. So do check that out. Again, link is also below for the extra subscriber episodes too. So definitely you want to check those out. All right. So let's begin with today's topic today, which is basically how fan clubs began and what what they were and what they comprised of. Okay. So basically, back in the very early part of anime fandom and that kind of stuff. I mean, this would be like the late 1980s, 87, 88, 89 type of thing. Here in Vancouver, we started something called the Vancouver Japanese Animation Club, okay, VJAS, and at that time, the other sort of relatively large anime fan clubs were consisted of the CFO, which is the Cartoon Fantasy Organization. Now, normally the Cartoon Fantasy Organization, the roots of that came from furry fandom, okay? And this touches on a really important point that a lot of anime fan clubs at the very beginning, especially at this time, is that they themselves, although mostly started from basically the anime focus, but at the same time, because of where they began or whatever, they also have another sort of component to them. Okay, now the reason is at this time is that anime was still very, very new. You think early 80s. I'm going through the my anime list, and you can kind of see what animes are coming out at this time, but very little of it is being commercially released over here. Okay, so obviously not very much people over here in North America know what anime is, because as I said, it's not until about 91, 92 when the commercial companies are starting to release anime, and actually people starting to actually now know in the mainstream what anime even is, right? So it's very, very, shall we say, underground almost. It's almost sort of very, very niche. Okay, this thing called anime. So a lot of people when they're starting up, let's say, an anime club, have come from different backgrounds. Again, a lot of the organizations under the CFO, they all began as I said, partially from the furry fandom, right? They were interested in all that, the stuff was coming out from like Anarch Press and that kind of stuff, and whatnot. In that relationship, okay. When I was going through UBC and whatnot, and learning about anime and that kind of stuff, I learned from it, mainly from the influence from the UBC wargamers. Okay, they basically played a lot of tabletop gaming, strategy war gaming type of stuff. Even something like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons type of thing was where I came from. But again, I noticed that when dealing with other groups and getting affiliated with conventions and that kind of stuff, I noticed that a lot of anime clubs and that kind of stuff were also built in, and they come in from various different other facilities, other sort of famous sort of things at this time. A lot of them came from the science fiction community. Okay. The local convention VCon, okay, or VancouverCon, I guess they have it, is a science fiction convention, okay, and whenever the animation club at its infancy was trying to gain members and try to promote themselves, they'd often would be able to get a booth or a table at the VCon convention. Again, this is to help out the fandom and that kind of stuff. And again, some of the fans, that learned about anime, came from the science fiction community. And again, it was fairly large at this time because again, not only was a lot of, sort of animes kind of probing into, what science fiction offered. Again, a lot of things like The Lensman, became animated from E. Doc Smith. There was obviously, Starship Troopers. That entire franchise also, managed to get an anime. There was another anime, 2001 Nights, which is based off of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So all these sort of, science fiction classics at this time was getting, influences from the science fiction community. So again, that's why some animes, clubs, and that kind of stuff, drew in their anime members and learned about anime through science fiction. Other fandoms, okay, such as the Star Trek and Star Wars fandoms, drew really heavily into anime. Again, they're already into this, huge sci-fi type of environment, right? They, obviously, they're really interested in all the flashiness of what Star Trek and Star Wars was at the time. Even I was really into that kind of into that era, because again, who wasn't interested in that Star Wars at that particular time? And then of course everything that was sort of focused around that, right? That built up this fandom, saying, wow, there's obviously lots of people interested in the Star Wars thing. Let's make some more things about it. And they were also really big hits. Things like Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers in the 21st century. Even those type of shows, really, drew in this market of, science fiction and that kind of stuff as well. So that also, brought in a lot of interest into that. And of course, I think even when I was running the store and that kind of stuff, and at a later time, even further series of that sort of nature, a lot of the members and that kind of stuff also were really interested in that kind of stuff. I'm referring to shows like Babylon 5 and Firefly and things like that. Heck, even if you want to even extend a little bit more, even things like the X-Files really drew heavily again for like anime fans and whatnot. Because again, it's sort of really sort of related, and I guess when if I'm going to go to X-Files and that kind of stuff. Other people also really gravitated toward all the vampire shows at that time. Forever Night, Buffy and the Vampire Slayer, Angel, things like that, also were very, very significant draws for a lot of people who are interested in that kind of fandom. They also crossed over and also learned about anime and all the things that anime had at that time. Again, because we had a lot of shows that was sort of focused on that. Vampire Hunter D, Hellsing, things like that. All were in that sort of nature as well, and that was very that also piqued a lot of people's interest at that particular time, right? Another area that a lot of sort of interest also came from was from video games and gaming. So again, at this time, a lot of gaming came from not so much PCs and the computers per se, but more consoles and stuff. So again, this is the introduction at this time of things like the Super Nintendo, because as I said, this time we're still at Nintendo, but but now the things like Super Nintendo were coming out, the PlayStation was coming out, the Sega Saturn were coming out, and so people are all sort of getting interested in all these new games that are coming out. But then they realize that a lot of these games, especially if they're picking up all the Asian games and that kind of stuff, and all these other games that are not available in the North American market, they realize, hey, a lot of them are actually based off of Japanese animes, and they want to see what the rest of the anime is like, right? So when they release, for example, let's say a Macross game, then they all say, well, what is this other kind of Macross that's also available? This is also when things like Macross 2, Macross Plus, and all this stuff started coming out, extending their knowledge of what they may have already saw through Robotech, for example. They're interested in getting into more and more types of anime in that respect. There's also a lot of interest in like cyberpunk and digital kind of realities and that kind of stuff. That's where things like Hack Sign, Serial Experiments Lane, Ghost in the Shell, things like that. All of a sudden, people, got interested in this, this alternate world, having to do with, in cyberpunk and that kind of stuff. Also, all kind of, gained in, again, through that sort of gaming slash, video gaming type of community. A lot of people sort of came in that. And why I wanted to just sort of mention all this is that, it shows that that people who are interested in anime usually are interested in a lot of other things, which are in common with a lot of anime fans. And again, what's really nice is about when we had these fan clubs is that our fan club basically met on a Sunday. It's usually the third Sunday out of every month, and we go to to a local community center. At the start, we started at the Trout Lake Community Center, and then later on we went to one of the schools, Douglas College, and we used one of their one of their lecture hall theaters with a theater projection screen and all that kind of stuff, because our attendance started getting that large that we could actually fill a lecture hall theater. But at the very beginning, we were at a small little community center. We rented a small little room from there. And we basically had our meetings, every month. And this basically gave people a chance to come in and watch some anime that they probably would have never known about, right? There is no internet at this time, so that they can sort of look up to see what the newest or hottest animes are or whatever. Even if they did, there's a lot of question of like, well, I've never seen anything. How do I get my hands on it, and where to get it, type of thing. Where by providing a place that you can come to and just casually watch anime, you can also learn about anime and that kind of stuff, and where to get it, and get into meet other people that have similar interests that you'd have. Because again, you probably came in at maybe as a sci-fi fan, or maybe as a video gamer. But then again, you said, you can meet other people that have similar interests. Okay, I've read maybe the same, books, or played Dungeons and Dragons, or said, own a PlayStation and playing different type of PlayStation games, and and so the conversation begins and talk about other other things that would be interesting. What do they play? Can they give me suggestions of what other animes are really cool? What are you watching? Things like this, can transpire, at these meetings when we have breaks and that kind of stuff. People are able to converse and talk about different things. And so that's one thing that's sort of what a fan club really worked well as. Okay, is that it really helped build a community of people that are interested in anime, but not just anime itself, but like all the different things having to do in that sort of entertainment realm. Okay. The other thing that the anime was also really useful for is that is when I had gone to things like Sophia's bookstore and whatnot to go and get magazines and art books and that kind of stuff. You know, these magazines and books are very hard to come by. All right, they don't. A lot of people don't know what they are, where to get them. They don't want to spend all this kind of money to buy these particular things sometimes. So a lot of times when I go to the monthly meetings, I will bring some magazines and some of the fanzines and fan books that I've got. Sometimes I'll go to a comic store and I'll pick up a copy of Animag or something, which is an English sort of anime magazine. And I'll bring that to the to like a monthly meeting, and that way people can then see, and read them for themselves. What other sort of anime things are available? What might be coming out. They're really, especially really interested in the Japanese magazines. And what's really neat is that for a lot of them, right? I'd probably say a good 90% of the people that go to the meetings, they don't have a slightest clue what any of the Japanese is actually saying. Okay, there is no, Google Translate. No one really has a cell phone at this time that they can point at at a particular text and have it translated. They have no idea what this is. I mean, they'll pick and choose different articles. They'll try to point and maybe pull a Japanese dictionary out and try to read certain titles and certain lines and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, they really don't have an idea what is going on. And so, what's really neat about this is that sometimes again I'll have like Daisuke, for example, he's commonly always at the meeting, or some other people that are really sort of proficient, I guess you'd say, at that language, that kind of stuff, and they can help out these people when they spot something that is really interesting. And again, Daisuke is always really, really helpful. Trying to get people interested in anime. Especially a lot of things that he's interested in. He loves to tell stories and give sort of information that's above and beyond what is actually written in the magazines. It's really, really good. And that actually said really helps people get into more of this thing called anime and pursue their own sort of interests. Right? It's not always this, for example, not always the 3Gs, which is girls, guns, and gore, that that dominated most of the stuff that was in the early part of anime fandom. Right? And so yeah, this whole entire this meet up, as it were, right? That kind of thing. I'm sure it still does happen, but the entire the community aspect, the same sort of learning aspect has changed somewhat. It's not as, I feel, as open as it used to be. Everyone sort of feels that they have a particular interest or a particular field, and they can basically have enough people around them, enough people in their clique to basically build and their own sort of community around that sort of thing. And they're not as general as they used to be, as it were, because the fact that there's less people and more people were sort of, let's just say more rounded in the past, where they now can be more narrow, can be narrowed. It's just because they have more people around them that they can find online that that have the similar interests as them. Well, more exact similar interests as them, shall we say? But that's it. That's just something that technology allows us to do, and I just wanted to make this episode just to sort of to let you step back a bit and say, before we had this technology, this is what things were like, and things were a lot more more free flowing, more easy, definitely more sociable for sure, definitely, and it really left people a lot more open to trying different animes and different things, learning about different products and different sort of other interesting things about entertainment in general. So as I said, there are a lot of things that you may not have known about, or may not want to watch, or may not even know anything about, unless it came across in a conversation, when it came across in a magazine, and someone basically pointed it out to you, or thought it was kind of interesting. You saw an interesting picture or clip that you wouldn't have saw if someone if you just basically stayed within inside your safety zone, if you will, and you decided to probe outside and decided to check something out that was a little different, and found it pleasantly entertaining and pleasantly surprising. So it's something that a lot of people I think in this kind of environment was able to attain and able to find out things about. Okay. So I hope you found this kind of an interesting episode. I know that it's hard to describe sometimes some of the events that happened, but I hope this gives you a better sort of idea of the picture, the better idea of the environment that we were in, during the earlier days of anime. Okay, so. If you haven't clicked like that now, but again, go down below, click like, help the algorithm, and then I will see you in the next episode, okay? So, until next time, I will see you again.